everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We actually have a wonderful show planned. We get to speak with the author of The Facebook Effect. His name is David Kirkpatrick, and he wrote a novel about Mark Zuckerberg, who is a young entrepreneur who has set the bar high for social networks. So please join me in welcoming David Kirkpatrick to set. Hi, David. Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So David, I read your book, actually found it to be very captivating and very interesting, and I know that Mark Zuckerberg actually started being an entrepreneur at such a young age. What would you say were Mark's inspirations for creating Facebook?
Well, Mark was really young during his time. In fact, he was still in college at Harvard when he thought of the idea to create this social network. Back then it was called the Facebook, though, instead of Facebook, so go figure. Harvard has several student houses, 12 of them to be exact. And when the new freshmen would arrive, they would place a photo of themselves in this book and the basic information along with other students. It was almost known as like a type of directory at the school.
That's cool.
These student books were actually referred to as Facebook. And each of the student houses were responsible for maintaining these Facebooks. So you can imagine how tedious and manual a process this was during that time. The idea to make them electronic was out there, but there were concerns about voice liability issues, and so it was never really pursued. The Harvard Crimson, which is the university newsletter, actually wrote an article titled, "Put Online a Happy Face, Electronic Facebook for the Entire College Should Be Both Helpful and Entertaining for All." That was actually just a spark of inspiration that Mark needed to convince him to rush home and create the Facebook, which he intended at first mainly just for Harvard students. It actually caught on so well that Mark then decided to expand it to other Ivy League schools. And the way he managed to get around any liability issues were allowing other users to voluntarily give up their information.
Wow. Well, David, you mentioned that that it caught on. Now, why do you feel that Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg were so successful?
It was really just being at the right place at the right time for Mark. I mean, social networks weren't really a new concept by any means, but Mark evaluated the pros and cons of other social networks that had been created and failed, and he figured out a way to make his idea function without encountering the same mistakes the others had. Look at 6degrees.com. It was a great idea, and really the first attempt at trying to make a social network, but it was created in the late 90s, and at the time technology wasn't what it is today. If you even had the internet, it was slow, dial-up internet, and it was a huge roadblock. 6degrees.com really was just too early. Friendster actually did come out at a good time because people were really waiting for a good site to connect. It gained a huge popularity and users found it addictive. Unfortunately, Friendster wasn't prepared for its spike in demand, and it became extremely slow and used due to the overwhelming amount of users.
Wow, you know, it really takes someone with a lot of motivation, dedication, and perseverance to be able to accomplish all that he's been able to. I actually recently spoken with Mark's mother to get a little more insight on what Mark was like growing up, and well, you know, let's take a look at the clip. Hi Donna, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Of course.
Your son has been such a huge influence and inspiration to so many out there, being that he is one of the biggest names in business, but at such a young age. I think everyone is wondering, what was Mark's upbringing or environment like growing up in order for him to become what he is today? And what's his personality like?
Ed and I are both so proud of Mark. We definitely pushed our children to be successful and hardworking, so we were not easy on them growing up, but there was never a shortage of love in our family. Ed and I have done all right for ourselves, Ed being a dentist and myself a psychologist, so with hard work we wanted to give our children everything we could. We had Mark attend a prep school growing up called Exeter Academy, which prepares students for Ivy League colleges. Mark did really well, as you can tell, being accepted to Harvard and all. He's a bright boy, and his father and I knew, even at a young age, he would make something of himself. He was always really shy and introverted, but he's fun and creative, and we value his unique qualities. Mark is, however, a little on the messy side. We always had a maid when he was growing up, and Mark must have gotten used to that because his dorm room in Harvard was always a huge mess. I don't know how he could live with all of that trash.
Oh my goodness, that is too funny. I certainly love hearing stories like that. So I guess you can say your efforts into giving Mark the right foundation worked? I mean, he took it, he ran with it.
Yes, you can certainly say that, but I feel Mark also just had a lot of faith in his creation because he put a lot of risk into his project. I'm not entirely sure if his foundation could prepare him for some of the big risks he took. Mark didn't go to Harvard to pursue business. In fact, he struggled very much early on when he was a CEO, and that he had to take lessons later on how to be more effective, be more of an effective leader. When he first started working on the Facebook project, he took a huge gamble when needing to buy more servers to make his website stay functional, and he spent thousands of dollars on this project. And his father and I put into an account a lot of money for him for school, and we had no idea that he was taking the money out to use on servers. I really feel that you don't always know for certain how something will turn out, and I know schooling can't provide definitive answers on if a venture will be successful or not, but he has a good head on his shoulders, and I think he just knew it was something that he needed to pursue, even if it did mean taking a gamble.
Oh, I completely agree with you. There really is no way to absolutely know how an idea is going to turn out. All you can do is make sure you do your homework, you avoid any possibility of failure, and even that isn't always certain. Well, Donna, thank you so much for sharing your story. I really enjoyed your insight in understanding the man behind Facebook. Thanks again.
Thank you.
So that was Donna. I'm glad I had the opportunity to talk with her. You can tell she's extremely proud of Mark.
Yeah, the Zuckerbergs are all really great people, and they're really smart too.
When writing the book about the beginnings of Facebook, what other motivations do you feel Mark may have had to continue his efforts on this venture?
Mark actually created a couple other websites before Facebook that seemed to catch on pretty well at Harvard. They were great stepping stones for him to eventually build something greater. Unfortunately, one of the sites he made, FaceMash, got him in a lot of trouble at school, and he violated student rights to privacy by uploading their pictures and many other issues due to the nature of the site. Regardless, Mark had a knack for creating addictive sites. The university, although not very pleased, did let Mark off the hook with a warning, and it definitely motivated Mark to want to create another addictive site for people to use.
So it looked like Mark had his fair share of obstacles. I recently had a phone call with Dustin Moskowitz, Mark's old Harvard roommate and Facebook business partner, and I would like to share a short clip with you. Here it is. Now, Dustin, you lived with Mark while attending Harvard, and then you and Mark both moved to Palo Alto, California to continue building up Facebook. What would you say were some of yours and Mark's struggles and failures in doing all of this?
Oh man, those were wild times. We definitely encountered some struggles. One of the main issues happened when our business partner, Eduardo Savrin, cut off our access to our funds for more servers. We were really paranoid about facing the same problems Friendster did, and we didn't want to overwhelm our servers, so we had to keep buying new ones to keep up with the demand.
Yo, Dustin!
Dude, I'm on the phone. Anyway, that's when Mark had to make the decision to spend his own money, thousands of dollars, dude, just to invest in more servers. There were other moments too that caught us all off guard. We had some new hires for a while, and they would mess up on a few things, and it would all be up to me to fix it. We couldn't risk having our users lose faith in Facebook's operations. It was very stressful, but we always got through it. Another struggle was the decision to drop out of Harvard. I really trusted my bro Mark, and I knew this was going to be huge, but to make the decision to not finish school was a big deal for me. I managed to be able to help out any way I could, and we really worked hard to get the program to a point where we could keep expanding more and more. I left Facebook to start my own internet software company called Asana, and I felt this would be a distraction for Facebook, and that's why I left.
What's really interesting about that is Dustin mentioned pretty much working with Mark to get the venture going from the beginning, and he helped Facebook to expand and grow. So much to the point that it was no longer exclusive just to the Ivy League schools. It became available to everyone, which brings me to wonderful news. Just recently, Facebook has hit a new milestone, 1 billion users.
Really? Wow, what an accomplishment. That's an amazing feat.
1 billion users, that is saying that roughly 1 out of every 7 people in the world now has a profile on Facebook.
Oh my god, that is just so funny. I actually have my Facebook profile, so that's just great to hear. But thank you so much, David, for coming on the show today. It was great talking with you, and I really do hope that we hear of more future milestones coming for Facebook. Well, if you guys haven't had the opportunity to read the book, The Facebook Effect by David Kirkpatrick, I strongly encourage you to go out and do so. Thank you everyone for joining.